Hello and welcome back to Clownfish TV. It is me, Geeky Sparkles, and today it is only me again because Neon is somewhere else. And it being Super Bowl Sunday, I don't think that a lot of people are going to be watching videos anyway, so you might be catching up on this early in the week. So today we're going to talk about this article that he sent me, which is they're talking in Variety about the end of peak TV, how the original scripted series has a dip from before and why that could be. And I think it's going to get even more constricted as we move forward with the streaming services and studios needing to make money over message. So before we get into it any further, please like and subscribe. If you do, I'll give you a woohoo, and we're going to go on with this. So Variety has this article. It's the end of peak TV. 516 original scripted series aired in 2023, which was a 14% dip from 2022 at 600, which I think was like the most they had going on. And I think there's a couple reasons for this. One, of course, they're going to tie it into the strikes that, because we had the strikes with the Writers Guild and the SAG-AFTRA in 2023, that, studios had to hold back some of that, wait for another year and things like that. I think that played into it, but I think it's because it's too expensive. I think studios have greenlit so much shit and it's not stuff people want to watch. They were greenlighting things just for message only. And that was after we saw a lot of things get canceled, like, anti-racist baby and all that crap, So we're going to see probably more of this getting canceled. I think we're going to see fewer and fewer shows moving forward. Disney's already talking about how they're doing this with film and TV. We're going to talk about that too here in a minute. So the article says, peak TV has finally peaked at FX's portion of the Television Critics Association press tour on Friday. Chairman John Landgraf revealed that his research team's annual tally of adult original scripted series across U.S. broadcast, cable, and streaming services, the number dropped to 516, which is 14% down from the record of 600 in 2022. It's the most significant dip ever since FX started to tally more than 2 decades ago. I expect more dips to be occurring. The dual strikes undoubtedly played a role in the industry shift, but he went on to point out new business realities of the maturing streaming age as outlets temper their output. Yes, because they're not making money and they have too much content. And, back in the day, you just had like Netflix and then Hulu, and people would make content to go to those locations. They could make content to go to the cable channels or whatever. Studios were creating content. They weren't trying to make their own networks. Now they all want their own damn thing. And they're trying to have like linear TV where you only have so many slots because it's infinite slots. They just want to keep shoveling shit out. The problem is they're putting quantity over quality, and we all have seen how that has gone. And they ran out of money. So then when the actors and the writers want more, to give more, you have to produce less. That's where we're at. Okay. The drawdown of production was likely underway even before the strike shuttered all production. I agree, because stuff wasn't working. The realignment of industry priorities from streaming scale at any cost to profitability continued after the strikes, leading to the cancellation of numerous projects. I think the studios like, hey, you know what? You've been striking for a long time. Hey, force majeure, bitches. And then they just started canceling things that they probably shouldn't have greenlit in the first place, but they were too busy trying to win, brownie points with Twitter, that they were making bad decisions. They greenlit all this stuff and most of it wasn't feasible. And also, like, you can just let everybody else make it, and then you could just, buy the rights to run it, and it saves you a lot of money. And end to peak TV is something that Landgraf had been predicting for some time. Okay, us too. In January 2016, he told reporters this year or next year will be peak TV. And I think there'll be more in 2016 and 2015. And there's still a reasonable prospect for fewer in 2017. Basically, he's been saying this for a while. But then he said it again in 2022 when it was hitting 600 shows. I also could have told you that. I think we told you that before too, because it's like you cannot have this many shows and have so many of them not do well, and you're losing so much money and still expect to be profitable. And that's why we started seeing all these different networks trying to make their own streaming services like 2020, 2021. And it was peaked during the pandemic, and they thought that meant that it was going to stay like that forever, when obviously it was not. And I saw them like, pulling back on things. And then they were like, oh, we're going to do more animation. We're going to do animation. It was like 2021. And I was like, why are you doing more animation now? Because they were saying it was because, you could do it from home. You don't have to be in studio. But it was already past the point where you needed to do that. And then they add this big overabundance of animation. Now they're laying people off because I think they just make knee-jerk reactions we can make money here, we can make money there, and they don't actually plot it out. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that it was a bad idea. You just look at the patterns. So they're saying now that he's bullish on his belief that the number had topped out. I don't see any new major purveyors of programming enter the scene as they have been continuously over the past decade or more. In fact, there are some prior purveyors of television programming that are kind of exiting the scenes. You're at a point now where you're not really adding new suppliers, but you are to some extent subtracting suppliers. So we have people going out or people merging. And as we said was going to happen when everybody started doing their own streaming services, they were going to Highlander each other. And we're going to start seeing more mergers. And like Disney right now with Warner Brothers and Fox are using it for Sports Network to be competitive. They're starting to join forces. They're going to eat each other. And whoever is left is going to probably be Netflix, which is what they start out at. But everybody else is going to get gobbled up, and you don't need so many shows when you don't have as many networks or people producing them. It's just common sense. It's just math, which I know I hear is racist now, but it's just math. I don't know. And then we have things like Disney is telling you they're going to pull back on making Marvel Star Wars content. They're talking, I think, in general on Disney Plus shows as well. They're just pulling back, overall. And it's like, we're going to focus on the important things that, according to them, the things we think we're going to make money on. Yeah, and Star Wars. And they're going to focus on trying to win back people to Marvel. They're going to try to stick with shows they think will do well. Even the live action remakes, I'm waiting to see if that one stops or slows down significantly because it's just not bringing the money that they need to stay profitable. Bob Iger is one of the people, and Disney were under fire during the strikes because their attitude kind of was sucked, and they're telling people at ABC how to get out of the unions and things like that. And then we're going to be heading into more strikes likely this year unless AMP-TIP can stop it. I know we have the music groups coming up to do it. The American Federation of Musicians, they're likely going to go on strike. Unless they can work something out. IATSE, we've told you that for a while. IATSE is probably heading into strike this year. Poor IATSE people, and they were the ones that kind of got shafted when the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Union were taking too long to come to an agreement. They kind of were the ones who really got hurt on that one. So if they strike, y'all better strike with them after they struck with you. They represent more than 170,000 production crew members. It'll see its contract expire in July. Unless they can get something good, they're going to strike as well. I'm just saying, we're heading into more strikes likely. As long as, AMP-TIP drags it out, it's going to go to more strikes. I don't know if they can afford that, but it's a possibility. We're going to head into more strikes this year if they can't come up with a contract. Likely leading to more shows being cut. And at the end of the day, you're just going to have hopefully better shows, fewer of them, and that way the studios will have successful products to sell to advertisers and get consumers to back their subscription services, streaming services. They'll have less people to pay. People that remain will get paid better, but there'll be fewer of them. And it'll balance itself out from being way too bloated 2 years ago to being much more reasonable, given that everybody's kind of rolling themselves into each other. It was always going to happen. I think the reason it got so much bloat in 2022 was because stuff they were greenlighting in 2020, 2021, things got pushed back. Then the pandemic, they made them think that there was endless money if they made endless content. And that is not the case. So I think we're going to see a lot of cuts. What do you think? Please let us know. Like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.